Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is White Raven and this is a part 3 of 4 of my favorite decks to work with. And this is Hush Tarot by Jeremy Hush. It comes in a lovely sturdy box with a small book with interpretations, some notes at the back, and even a spread, and a little bit about the artist. Now, don't stone me if I'm wrong, but from what I've read and researched, the paintings that are being used for the cards have been existing prior the whole idea to make the artwork into a deck. So from what I understand, some of them were made for the deck and some of them already existed. So when I was looking into this, purchasing this, I was wondering how is this going to be for me, because I like the idea of an artist pouring his heart and soul into the images, knowing that they are going to be, or they're going to become, cards or whatever it is. And this was not the case, or at least partially not the case. And I was wondering how is this going to work, but actually it works perfectly fine. Now, the thing to mention is that this is not your traditional tarot deck at all. If you used to work with Rider-Waite Smith, this has nothing to do with it. It's very random images. If you will try to put a connecting line between this deck and your traditional RW. So for people that like to see people and like to see those traditional images, this is not for you if that's what you want. For me, this deck is great. I really like it because I find that it taps a lot into my subconscious, whereby I can figure out this ring light. Again, just have to work with it. It's obviously a little bit glossy. It taps into the depths of the subconscious with this imagery, and I really like it. So the Fool. Here's nice interpretations as well that go with the cards. Let's try to do it this way, maybe. This way there will be less. Okay, how's that? Is that better? My phone is completely tripping out. Okay, that should be better. The Magician. It has this energy about it that is like a forest, like you ended up, the weird dreams that we all have sometimes, or at least I do, where in your dream you know that it's you, but actually you look like a rabbit or something like that. And then your friend or whoever it is with you in the dream is another animal, or half human, half animal, like things like this. I often had in my dreams when I was a child, and occasionally now. And so this deck taps straight back into that place of trippiness, like things like this. And of course it's nature and all these things, but it also has this kind of darkness to me. It's not bad darkness, but the colors are not trying to be vibrant. They're not trying to be anything particularly amazing or cheerful. It's just what it is. It's this slightly dimmed, earthy colors that are not in your face, and they have this strange feeling to it that taps into the subconscious, because subconscious is a trippy place. I am also a hypnotherapist, and I work with the subconscious mind during the sessions that I give to people that have nothing to do with tarot. And this is very interesting, like certain memories or certain dreams, once again, are very much like this. And I also feel that the outside world these days is so loud and so intense, and so much chatter and noise and color and brightness that you're constantly overstimulated. And this deck kind of calms the senses back to... I grew up in USSR as a child, and we played outside, melting stolen pieces of metal from the car that were abandoned in places that these days kids would never go, and the colors were pretty much like this, the colors of my childhood. There were no neon screens, no commercial banners, or what you call them, those massive, oh my God, advertisement boards, no phones. We had black and white old TVs and parks. There was no water bottles to take with you. We would drink out of the little fountains or the rivers that were clean, or we would hope that it's clean. That looked clean at least. So in this deck, the suit of swords and wands is a little bit confusing, at least for me, because they look kind of similar. These are wands, and the swords are pretty much like that, but sharper and longer. So it's also, it can be confusing because these ones, whatever you call them, they look a little bit like swords. So it would take a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, it's great. I really like this deck. It's direct, and I think from my previous few reviews, maybe you had already understood. I like straight to the point, no extra sugar coating kind of decks, and this one is one of them. So I really like this. Look how beautiful this is. The other thing to say is, I'm sorry, what was the other thing to say? I forgot. It will come to me. This is Page of Wands. This is totally some trippy, dreamy landscape of subconscious mind to me, and it digs really deep. You have to take a little bit of time when you lay your cards out, so you don't just go jumping into it as you would do with, you know, the traditional imagery. It will take a little bit of time to look at the cards and feel into it, and then things just start popping up, at least for me. I also occasionally just ignore the imagery and the I do this with other decks as well that are not traditional. For instance, the Deviant Moon tarot deck, the author Patrick Valenza, I think, he assigns his own meanings to the cards. I have the big book, the coffee table kind of book from him, and he has his own interpretations, and sometimes I don't know if I should say that I'm guilty of. I don't think it's anything terrible to do, but I ignore those special assigned meanings and just read with non-traditional imagery decks as if I would be reading with the traditional RW. And I ignore the meanings. I just see the number, I see the suit, and I read it as I would in a traditional RW. Those things happen as well at times. And there are decks, for instance, like Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot, that for me personally, from my perspective, perception, I feel that that deck speaks with images more than with traditionally assigned meanings in suits. It's a little bit like an oracle deck. So really, it depends on the day, the mood, the person, the reading, and so on. But this deck I usually take in my hands when it's something to dig, something about digging into the subconscious. And when I get stuck, I go back to the book, which has just enough keywords to be able to get you to where you need to get. So again, if you rely a lot on the traditional imagery, this might be hard to get used to. Cardstock is really nice. It's a bit plasticky. It snaps back. I like the feeling of it. It's kind of slippery, and I like the feeling of it in my hand. This is all about death and decay being a part of life. Embracing the natural cycles of being alive. I never liked guys with mustache like that. Piranhas, half-eaten boat, 6 of swords. Let's see what he says about this, just for you guys to have an idea. We will pick a card and read the description later. 6 of Swords. Upright. Transition, retreat. It's time to leave a bad situation. The boat is flimsy and as broken as your will. Shrouded in sadness and without a clear plan of what is to come, you watch the shrinking coastline of your past struggles. The waters are strange and filled with the unknown, but it's a necessary journey to a new beginning. Reversed, unbalanced. You're having trouble letting go. This heavy weight is threatening to upend and capsize. So some people would say that I feel a lot of emotions in these kind of colors and dimmed imagery tones. Same for Nicoletta Ciccoli Star. I like the facial expressions. Some people say that they're depressing and dark, but I feel so much in those images. The eyes that she makes are quite amazing. And so I personally like this slightly dimmed. It reminds me a lot of my childhood, when you're sent into your room with no, like, where your toys are just lying there still and you're bored and you're told to entertain yourself, and it's a hot afternoon and a summer day and you can hear the ticking of the clock and the time just feels as if it's standing still. And the world is not particularly bouncy or jumping out of its pants to entertain you, and you just have to sit there with your boredom, with this quietness, and whether you want it or not, you can feel the air, you can feel the empty space around you, you can feel that there is more to it than just an empty space. And then out of that boredom, out of that deadly silence of ticking clock, you go into the dreaming, into the imagining, into the coming up with ideas and into the world of your own imagination. And we're lacking things like that today, unfortunately, unless you separate and detach from the hustle and bustle of the world that is completely overwhelming and just constantly screaming at your face, into your face. We need this sort of dimmed lights and dull colors. We need to shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous system, because we're constantly stuck in a fight or flight mode without even knowing it. And these cards feel to me like this big and permission to just dive and float away, of not having things, not having to look pretty, not having to be vibrantly alive, just being the color that you are. This is a gorgeous card. I really like it. It's Page of Pentacles, and she's doing something to her eyes, but to me it always looks like she has her ears. She's trying to close her ears. Some people also say that they don't like that on some cards there is either a letter or whole word, like the cards are being signed, the images, even here we can see it, but it doesn't bother me at all actually. This is the last card, King of Pentacles. Now let's zoom out and see how it shuffles. So I really love this kind of decks that are not attempting to be anything for you except for what they are. So it shuffles really nicely, feels smooth. It's a little bit wider, chubbier than a regular tarot deck size. So if you have small, lovely feminine hands, it might be hard to read, to shuffle, sorry. So let's pull a card and see one more interpretation for this deck. Okay. The Queen of Pentacles. Let's find her. Knight. The Queen of Pentacles. Practicality, sensitivity. Beauty surrounds you. The light you generate illuminates the weeds of past lessons. The same light also brings forth the joys of the present, represented by the playful sparrows and cunning falcon. Overburdened, the weeds are a reminder of past failures. They block the view of a clear path. The stress of having both hands full is diminishing your inner light. So I hope this was helpful, and I am thinking that I would like to make Nicoletta Ciccoli's tarot and oracle deck walkthrough, and I will possibly make it soon. Thank you for being here with me, guys. Have a lovely time of the day, evening here, wherever you are. And bye.